So how's it going today?
I'm doing pretty good.
So yes, so just for formalities, you do consent to be on video for my class today, for educational purposes for my final sort of skills assessment here, correct?
Yep.
Awesome. So getting right into it, I'm with Alyssa right now. Could you tell me a little bit about your backstory, how old you are, where you're from, that sort of deal?
I'm 22. I am from Long Island. My parents are, and I am, half Egyptian, half Italian. Mom's half Egyptian. Mom's Egyptian. Dad's Italian. I went to school at SUNY Oneonta for my undergrad. I decided to move to Utica to start a new life. I am a sub at the Utica School District, and I also work at the Hollister store in the mall around here.
So you mentioned your parents being, half Egyptian, half Italian. That sounds pretty interesting. Are you pretty close with your parents? What's that relationship sort of look like?
Yeah, I say I'm pretty close with them. We do spend a lot of family time together, especially on the Egyptian side. The Egyptian side is very close together. We like to do a lot of stuff together. The Italian side also, we're very close. We like to do a lot of family-oriented things.
Wow, so it sounds like you have like a really, really close knit relationship with your parents. Do you have any siblings, or has anyone else live with you, or is it just you and your parents prior to moving to Utica?
I have one sister. She's 18, still goes to school. She's doing good.
She's doing good? Are you guys close as well, or what's that relationship look like?
Yeah, we're pretty close too. I talk to her probably a couple times a week. She tells me about school, and if she needs help, I talk to her.
Well, that's awesome. Are you close with any other of your family members, or just primarily your main sort of family there?
Well, my initial family I'm very close with, but also I'm close with my grandparents on both sides.
Gotcha.
And cousins too, because we do have a very big family.
So are they also from Long Island, or where are they from?
We're scattered. Most of us is in Long Island, and the other half is in upstate New York.
Gotcha. So whereabouts in upstate New York do you visit them a lot?
Yeah, I try and visit them as much as I can. They live about 3-ish hours from me, so they're closer than anywhere else.
Gotcha. So that doesn't sound too bad. So you said you're living in Utica currently. What's that sort of look like for you?
It's definitely very different compared to the lifestyle it was in Long Island. Very slow-paced compared to at home. Very different demographics up here. Mostly everyone in Long Island is Italian, but you can see all different types of races and cultures up here, which is really nice to see, especially in the school district I'm in.
Yeah, it sounds like quite a change. Has that change been easy for you, or not so much?
I feel like it's been pretty easy trying to get to know people up here. Everyone's very nice and kind and want to talk to you, which I enjoy.
Have you made many friends up here, or what's that? What is your I know it's a big change. So how's your sort of social spheres looked after moving? Has it been rough, or what's that looked like?
Yeah, it's been pretty rough. It's been hard to try and make some friends around my age, just because I do work in a school district. Most people that do work in the school district are a lot older, and also when I work at Hollister, there's a lot of really young kids that work there, so it's not really like I have someone around my age to go through things with.
Gotcha. So you're not close with any of your coworkers at Hollister, or at the school?
Not really. I do have 1 or 2 people at Hollister, but not really that we would go and spend our day together.
Yeah, that sounds really tricky. So other than socially, how's your academic sort of career been since moving to Utica? What's that look like?
Well, for my undergrad, I was mostly straight A's, couple B's here and there. I did very good at school.
And where did you go to school again? I'm sorry.
SUNY Oneonta.
And that was for undergrad, correct?
That was for undergrad, yes.
Okay, sounds good. So you said you're going to graduate school now, right? Where are you going to graduate school?
I'm going to graduate school at SUNY Oneonta also. It was an easier transition It's mostly online.
Yeah.
It's a nice program.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. So for high school, you did go to Long Island, though, right?
Yep. I lived
Okay.
in Long Island till I was 22.
22?
Well, my age now, but a couple months ago.
So did you live in Long Island while you were going to Oneonta then?
Yes, I lived in the dorms at Oneonta, but also went back.
Oh,
and
okay.
forth.
So you went from Long Island to Oneonta to Utica, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's quite the shift. It sounds like you've been kind of up and around a lot. You know, haven't really gotten the chance to quite plant your roots somewhat permanently yet.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of big changes so far. So yeah, you said you've had like history being a straight A student. That's awesome. You know, love to hear that. So, as far as graduate school, how has that been? How far into graduate school are you now?
I'm in my first semester at graduate school, so just starting. It's the literacy education program there. It's just to help me continue on with my education degree that I obtained there.
And now I remember you were telling me you were having some problems with grad school. Like where did those start to happen? Could you talk to me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so far the classes have been pretty easy for me to deal with. I think so far I'm doing pretty good in the class. The only issue I do have is that they have a bunch of requirements at this school in order to stay in the program, so I had to take all my certification exams in order to become a certified teacher, but because I'm dual certified, I need to take 8 exams, and I can only pass 6. I've failed the math certification exams for my early childhood and childhood education multiple times already, and I just cannot pass it. And because of that, I cannot continue on with the program next semester.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that sounds like sounds like you're kind of stuck as far as that. So emotionally, you know, dealing with like, you know, not doing well on your exams and that sort of holding you back. How has that sort of felt?
I definitely have some anxiety when it comes to it, just because I do want to continue on with this program, but it's hard.
It's hard, yeah. So definitely seems hard. But you know, do you have any close friends or relatives? You said you're really close with your family, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty close with them.
Yeah. So, do you think if I asked them, do you think they would say that they think you can get through it, knowing your history of doing super well in school?
I think so.
Gotcha. And what do you think they'd say is one of the best qualities about you, academically, or like it's sort of associated with how you get your work done in school?
They'd probably say that I'm a really hard worker. I work hard for what I need to get.
Oh, that's awesome. So, since you're such a hard worker, I'm sure you can you know, sort of get there. So, where do you feel like, as far as you know, how stuck you feel, or how the likeliness of you to pass, where do you, on a scale from like 1 to 10, where would you feel that your like likelihood of passing is, with like a 10 being you know, you got it, and a 1 being there's no chance at all that you have it?
Probably like an 8. I'm only a couple points to passing, so I think that maybe the next time I take them, I'll probably be able to pass it, but just the thought of failing it multiple times is just hard.
Yeah, no, it definitely sounds hard. And you said you've never had any issue like this with school before at all, correct?
No, I've passed almost every single exam that I've taken. I have, back in high school, in New York State, they have Regents exams. I did fail my geometry exam back then, but that was also by 2 points.
Oh, okay. So you have had experiences like this before. So with your geometry, it was geometry Regents, correct?
Yes.
So did you ever end up passing that? I'm sorry. I just wanted to...
Yeah, I ended up taking it again, and I passed it by 2 points on top of that.
Oh,
so
really?
I think 65 is passing. I think I got a 67 or something.
Oh, that's
very
awesome.
Close.
So in situations like that, how did you sort of, you know, get those extra 2 points, you know, push, you know, get that extra 110% versus 100%? how do you think you came through in that regard for that situation?
I think I just tried pushing myself, studying harder, trying different types of like study guides compared to like what they have been giving you at school. Talking to people about some questions because usually they are repeated questions. Trying to get the answers just so I could get to where I need to get.
Gotcha. So it sounds like you've put in a lot of extra work and you really value different sort of looking at it from different angles, and that's sort of come to help you, correct?
Nope.
All right. So so what have you done so far for this exam, this particular exam? Have you done anything like that?
Yeah, I've gotten multiple study guide books. I've tried to look up the questions, and I usually could find the answers. But I've talked to a couple people about the questions, seeing if they're able to help me out, and just tried to look as much as I can online for help to get me to pass.
Huh. Yeah. So sounds like you've really, gone and outdone yourself. I really commend you. It sounds like you really have a strong you're really tenacious. You're going out looking for different answers, asking people. You're being very proactive about it, which I think is very admirable. But I'm just kind of curious, do you feel personally that it's a similar intensity or less intensity than when you were working towards your geometry regions to sort of pass that?
I feel like the geometry regions definitely was not as intense as this. The only reason I pushed myself to get to geometry regions was because I could get a higher degree if I passed it. So at some points I was like, it didn't matter, but I feel like for this exam to pass it, I'm trying so hard to get it, because if I don't, then I can't continue on with the program like I mentioned before, and that's definitely going to be something I'm going to have to figure out if I do not pass them.
Gotcha. So you said, as far as like passability, you feel like it's an 8 though, right?
Yeah, I think it's about like an 8.
Right. So with that being an 8, you'd say there's a pretty good chance you're going to pass it, right?
Yeah, I think
Next
so.
time you take it? All right. And so what do you think you'd need to do to get to like a 9? Do you think there's anything you could do, or even just an 8.5? What do you think a 9 would look like? With 10 being you're 100% going to pass it, it like the back of your hand, and 9 being almost there. How do you think you can get from like an 8 to like an 8.5 or 8 to a 9? What would that sort of look like, you think?
I feel like taking all the things I did mention before, but like looking at different study guides and information, and maybe even just like adding on a tutor. That could probably help.
Yeah, sort of get some more of those different opinions you were talking about,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So you said there is sort of like a time frame to this exam, right? And you said something along the lines of, if you don't pass it, you won't be able to continue on with grad school, correct?
Yes, it was November 1st was the deadline to give in all the information and be a certified teacher. I did contact the school. I asked for an extension. They told me they don't do extensions, but I have till classes start, which is the end of January, to get that in. But even if I do provide them with my passing scores and my certification, there's a chance I still cannot get into the classes that I need.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds very kind of determinate there, where it's adds the extra bit of sort of importance and anxiety to your situation, it sounds like, right?
Yeah, definitely a lot of anxiety when it comes to trying to figure this all out.
But you got to remember, like your mom said, you're a hard worker. I see that you're tenacious and you're going and putting in the work. I'm sure even if you don't get it this time, you're going to get it eventually, because just like your geometry regents, you've shown historically you can get things done. And that's not a problem for you, right? You've never really had any academic hiccups, but even so, you've prevailed when you have historically, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you have most of the tools you need to, and I think your mother would agree with me that you have most of the tools you need to get done with this exam and, put it in the past. But let's talk a little more about the time restraints and the sort of feelings that have arisen because of the almost like the nature of this exam, right? Could you tell me a little bit more about how the time constraining nature of the exam sort of feels to you?
Definitely, it's difficult, especially with these exams too. You only have you have to sign up in advance to take them, and you only get like a week in between from one test to the other. So let's say October 30th is when you get your results. By November 2nd, or a little bit later, that's when the new results come out. So you only have a little bit of time. So as I found out my last results, I wanted to take it, but there was no open availability. So that's definitely something that I've been having problems with, just because I'm nervous that I'm not going to be able to schedule another one in time before I could take it to find out, because it also takes about over a month to get your results. So I'm sitting waiting, knowing that if I passed or failed.
Wow, yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of uncertainty regarding your situation, right? And, on top of working and, just freshly moving, it sounds like a lot of stuff going on at the moment, right?
Yeah, it's very difficult.
So, do you think that's had, like, sort of a compounding effect? Like, is that all sort of, like, added up, you think? Or has it just kind of been just the test that's been kind of provoking your anxiety here?
I feel like it's a little bit of both. I think it's definitely trying to pass is definitely a big part of my anxiety, but also having all the other things, a new fresh start to my life, new jobs, new people around me. I think that's definitely been a little bit of anxiety for me too, especially because everything's so new and different and very overwhelming.
Right. So it sounds like you really value stability and sort of like a harmony between these different aspects of your life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, have you kind of had a plan as to when to take this test, or is it still kind of up in the air?
My plan is to hopefully take it. I think December 4th is the last day I can take it before it may be too late again. Hopefully I could schedule these last two exams. Usually they have availability during the week, but that's usually when I work, so it's hard to find a date to do that. But I think that if I could take it before December 4th, I get the results by the end of the month.
So it sounds like you really have this planned out rather well. I'm pretty impressed. Now, that goes without saying, though, you have as far as options, right, you have a preference towards continuing on and doing the test now than waiting, and you said that might set you back, correct?
Yeah, if
Okay.
I don't take them and I don't pass them this time around, I have to wait a whole year in order to continue on, because at Oneonta they only have the grad school program during the month. So like this class that I have to take in the spring is only available during the spring, so I'd have to wait a whole year.
Wow, yeah. So it sounds like this is pretty influential over the sequence of events in your life. And so going along with that, you said you did have a preference towards doing it now versus doing it later, right?
Yes, I want to get everything done now for my master's degree, just so when I do start my life as a teacher, I'm able to get the highest pay I can get.
Sounds like you really value your time.
Yeah, I definitely do.
Yeah. Is that really important to you?
Yeah, it is very important to me.
Has there ever been any other situations like this where you've sort of been, time constrained in that you've had to get something done and you just can't quite find the time or energy or, the effort to put in to where you can get it done, you just don't have the time to do it? Have you ever had any sort of situation like that?
Yeah, definitely. When I transferred schools a few years ago, I wanted to transfer to Oneonta for my undergrad from SUNY Buffalo State, but there was just no time for me to gather all the information I needed, especially to transfer. They wanted signatures and grades from every single professor, and most of these professors didn't have time or didn't want to discuss me transferring to the new school.
Oh, wow. So it sounds like you've been in this situation a couple times now. You said you've gone from Buffalo to Oneonta, so you're quite familiar with change then.
Yeah.
It's just not something you really like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So going forward with that, you said you definitely want to get this done. Do you have a plan if you don't?
Not yet. Haven't decided, just because that's just going to be a difficult thing to figure out, especially because it's I would have to wait a whole year if I did want to continue on with the program.
So would you say that waiting for next year is sort of like the nuclear option, or the greater of the two evils there?
Yeah, I think so. That would just be my only other option if I do not pass.
Gotcha. And do you have a plan if you don't pass?
Not yet. Probably just still continue on with my part-time jobs, just so I can get some more money before maybe having to take a break.
Right. And I mean, are you? Let me rephrase the question. Would you have a preference towards being more prepared going into that situation versus not, or sort of do you think possibly that waiting for the test might relieve some of that anxiety, even if you did have to wait for a year?
I feel like it probably would relieve some anxiety.
It would? Gotcha. So, as far as, like you said, you would work on your other job, sort of like, really hammer down these other aspects of your life. So, would you say that that's more or less for stability and to get rid of some of this sort of drawn out uncertainty in your life,
Yeah, I think so. I think having these multiple jobs are just trying to keep me busy so I don't have to think about what was going to happen next in my life.
So, and you said this has been like a big thing for you, the culmination of the anxiety of all these different aspects. Have you noticed like yourself acting differently, or do you think it's had really any effect on your life as far as beyond feelings? Like have these feelings manifested into anything, or have you mostly kept them under control? Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
I feel like a little bit of both. I feel like it has made me feel a lot more upset. I've been crying recently because it makes me sad thinking about what's happened. Get angry sometimes, but obviously I don't mean it. It's just a lot is happening.
Yeah, well, it's a stressful situation, and sometimes stressful situations make us upset, right? And especially when it's stuff out of our control, it's not always our fault, right?
Yeah.
There's only so much we can control, right?
Of course.
So it sounds like to me like you really value the ability to sort of control your environment and control these aspects of your life as much as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, would you say you said you've been crying a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what was the other thing again?
Just been taking my anger out on people.
Taking your anger out on people. So, do you think there's some ways like we could maybe curtail that? Have you had situations in the past, with like maybe the geometry regents or with transferring where you found ways to proactively deal with this excess stress?
I feel like I was able to take maybe some of the stress and just like put it towards things that I like. I was really into art, so maybe doing some more like artwork maybe would help me feel a little better.
Yeah. Was there anything else, or was that just mainly art? Did you have any other hobbies? It sounds like to me that you sort of like poured some more time, like you are doing now with your jobs. You pour it into other aspects of your life that you can control, right? Like arts, you can control what you make with art. So is there any other hobbies like that you do, or was it just art?
It's just mostly art.
Just mostly art? See, that's okay. All right. So do you think maybe that could work as far as dealing with this situation, maybe taking some time to work on some hobbies like art?
Yeah, I think so. If I just take some time to just for myself, not to think about anything else, and just pour everything into doing some artwork would be good.
So what would, during the course of a practical week, what do you think that'd look like for you?
Probably just, doing some of my grad school work, then doing my jobs, and then maybe if I have time at night, work on some artwork or something to just distract myself.
Now you said if you have time. Do you not have time a lot, or?
Kind of. I have a very busy schedule. I'm usually gone in the morning because if I'm working in the school district by me, I'm usually gone early and back. And then if I have my other job after that, I usually is till nighttime.
Alrighty. And so, you said with that being accompanying most of the days, you do get days off though, right?
Yes.
So do you think maybe you could incorporate that into your days off, or maybe when you get home from your night job, or maybe even in between jobs?
I think so.
You think so? Well, it sounds like to me like you have all the skills you'd need to, deal with this problem and not only excel and pass the test, but also in the case of not, the nuclear option like we're talking about, you have the skills to deal with it because you're a very diversified individual, and I think you show a lot of resiliency mentally and a lot of strength, and like I was saying before, I think that's really admirable.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say, thank you again for allowing me to tape our session, and I think, you have most of the skills and the plans, like we were talking about with doing the art, to work on, dealing with this stress next time, and even preparing for future events that might be very overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
Sort of develop those coping skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I think we'll definitely talk about that in future. And like I said, thank you again for letting me record our session today. It means a lot. And yeah, I'll definitely talk more about it next time, right?
Of course. Definitely.
All right.
Sounds good.
Thank you.